Alright, today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite characters from Invincible, Adam Eve. Adam Eve should be one of the most overpowered characters in Invincible. She can rearrange and manipulate matter, and if you don't know, that's a ridiculous power. She can turn existing things into basically anything she wants, and she can also make anything out of thin air. Now with this, she would be completely unstoppable, but in the Adam Eve special episode, we learned that the scientist that made her implanted a subconscious block that prevents her from manipulating living tissue. So she can rearrange atoms and manipulate matter to everything that isn't animals or people. But there is an exception to this. If she's under extreme duress or knocking on death's door, she can actually get past the block briefly to pack anyone up and heal herself. But then after she does that, she usually passes out and the mental block kicks back in. We saw this twice now in the Adam Eve special and after Conquest nearly packed her up. But even with this mental block, her powers are just stupidly overpowered. We also saw in that Adam Eve episode that she's been an expert since like 12 years old with her powers. She didn't really need much training because she can actually see and feel all the chemicals and molecules, so once she learned she had powers, she went out the next day and started beating ass. So at 12, she already knew how to do almost everything she can do now, like making armor, turning things into whatever she wants, all that good stuff. So with that in mind, let's go over some fight scenes. First, I want to point out a few things from her fight with Conquest. I've got to show this because everything she does in this fight, she coulda, shoulda, woulda been doing in Season 1. She never had any training arc where she became stronger and learned how to use her powers more, she just decided to lock in one day. She was able to make her armor, which she's already done a couple times in the past, and this armor was actually able to protect her from some of Conquest's punches, so it should be able to stop pretty much anything from anyone else. One of the craziest things she did was increasing the density of the air, which didn't just slow Conquest down, but pretty much froze him in his place. Mind you, Conquest is a speedster. I made a video talking about this already. Viltrumites have super speed, so her being able to completely freeze him before he can get to her is wild. And then she also was able to make constructs that actually smack him around and hurt him. We saw how insanely durable Conquest is. If these constructs can stun him, then they should be able to pack up anyone else. Alright, now let's jump back to Season 1, the Flaxan fight. In this fight, we see Eve mainly using her shields and her little pink blast things that she constantly uses, but she also puts a bubble around some of their heads, which ends them pretty quickly. We saw her use this on Conquest actually, and that's great. Why does she not use it again? She could pop like 1,000 of these on all their heads. Let's not forget that her powers are only limited by her imagination. There's no reason she couldn't do a bunch of these head bubbles or create one big ass bubble around the whole army and then fill it with concrete or diamonds or literally anything. Boom, the whole army's toast. The biggest argument people will try to make is that she can't because she'll get gassed out, but she's really only gassed out like one time against Conquest, and that was after she gave him everything she had for a long while, and she was just in the hospital, so she's good bro, she's not gonna pass out, as long as she's not going like all out giving all the juice that she has. The second time they roll up to fight the Flaxans, Eve actually uses like a big blast thing that wipes out a lot of them, but then she immediately goes back to using her little pink blasts again and gets taken down by a facehugger. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but Eve can manipulate all matter that's not living, so why doesn't she just turn the facehugger into water, or just disintegrate it? She could do the same thing to all the Flaxan's guns and tanks. Just turn them into toy guns, or into sand, or into water, or she could just disassemble them completely. And then when they fought the Flaxans for the third time, she did nothing, she just bubbled up and Omni-Man came and saved the day. She could have ended this fight in like 10 seconds if she took 2 seconds to think. She kind of has like a lesser version of the Reality Stone mixed with like Green Lantern's ring. She can really just do whatever she wants, but she usually sticks to just pink shields and blasts. Alright, next is her fight with Doc Seismic. As soon as they pull up to fight, Eve says, and I quote, "We need to take out his gloves." Mark even makes fun of him.
You're wearing earthquake bracelets!
So they know the bracelets are the source of his power. The bracelets are not living matter. Turn them into sand, or air, or water, or just completely disintegrate them. Or turn them into literally anything. She's turned pine cones into f***ing drinks. Actually, she's been shown that she can kind of use her powers as telekinesis, so just take the bracelets off of him. Literally any of these thoughts should have been the first thing she thought of, but instead, she shoots her pink little blast things, and Doc Seismic flies away. She could also just increase the air density around him to stop him, or she could box him up and slap him in a little prison cell, or she could tie his hands to the ground, or she could just make a big construct and smack him. But no, she does none of this. Alright, next is the Sequid space fight. She's really working them. After this, she puts a shield around everyone and holds it for as long as she can before passing out. Not exactly the best strategy. She could put the host in a box and destroy the majority of the Sequids by making 2 big walls and smashing all of them. Or when Robot was building the sound device thing, she could have instead built a wall separating the team into Sequids, and then once it was done, she could have just taken it down and they could have gotten it to the host. Boom. Also just crossed my mind, she builds a big pink bubble around them, but she couldn't have just turned that bubble into stone or like titanium or something so that she doesn't have to continuously hold it up. She could have just like turned the bubble into Patrick's crib and then Rudy could have built the thing without her passing out. I'm not even smart and I'm thinking of this, so I don't know why the she isn't. Probably because the writers didn't realize how powerful of a character they made. So now every scene where she doesn't fix the problem in like 2 seconds, it's inconsistent and poorly written. But moving on, let's move to Season 3, the Mr. Liu Dragon Fight. At first, Eve uses her classic little pink glass that never do anything, and some pink glass walls that literally everybody gets through. But she does eventually armor up, and Mark uses her as a weapon to smack the dragon, and then she charges at it with an armored fist, which probably did nothing. Later on, she's able to throw this thing into a wall. Don't know how she did that, but she did. Also, I'm sorry, but I have to say it, Mark's a speedster, and this dragon is slow as shit, so I don't know how Mark is even being touched. Don't care if this dragon is magic, doesn't have super speed, and Mark does eventually smoke it by flying through its head, even though he could have done this like 1,000 times in this fight. But whatever, doesn't matter, this dragon can heal, so they were kind of cooked to begin with, but also, Eve just didn't do much. Don't know exactly how strong this dragon is, but Eve didn't even attempt to make a construct that could hold him or damage him. Literally in like 2 episodes from now, she's able to stun Conquest with her construct, so I can't believe she couldn't do anything to this dragon. But again, this thing was kind of overpowered, so they were kind of cooked to begin with. Alright, next up is the second time Eve fights Doc Seismic. Yes, I know that was before the dragon fight. I forgot about it, so I'm adding it now. After every superhero in America is taken, I still think that was stupid. It's up to Eve and Invincible to save the day. They pull up, and instead of immediately taking action, they start cracking jokes and let him go on this big evil monologue. They even fly up to him and ask him to free everyone, because that'll totally work. And then they just float there and watch as he slowly clangs his bracelets together.
Are you serious?
You're a fucking disappointment.
Invincible could just speed blitz him right there. Eve could turn his bracelets into dust, or she could make a big hand to hold him in place. Just do anything other than nothing. Even after he used his bracelets, they all just do nothing and wait for these big ass monsters to come out. Eve throws her little pink blast things that do nothing, and then heads over to save the others but gets stopped by Doc Seismic, who is just standing there. Take his fucking bracelets away. Use your fucking powers. She just stands there though, so he uses his bracelets to knock her out. Darkwing 2 and the Reanimant had to come save the day, when Eve could have just stopped this in 2 seconds and Invincible could have freed everyone. Alright, next is her fight with Powerplex. In this fight, she realizes pretty quickly that he gets stronger if she hits him, so she puts a box around him, and he shatters the box like it's nothing because it's pretty much glass. You just put Multipole in a concrete cell. Why can't you do the same to Powerplex? Or better yet, make it an even stronger material. Yes, she can do that. She finally locks in and uses some stickum to trap his hands. Finally, she used her head for once and thought outside the box. Next is her and Invincible's fight with the 2 variants. Omnimark flies at Eve, and somehow Eve is able to put glass shields up before he gets to her, even though Viltrumites have faster perception and super speed.
Want you to know. Okay, all done.
He should be able to grab her instantly. And he should also be able to just plow through these glass walls without losing momentum. I don't know why he has to stop and punch each one of them, but whatever. We're here to talk about Adam Eve. Now, Adam Eve fights Conquest not long after this, maybe days later, weeks at most, and she does no training. She was in the hospital the whole time. So that means that she's been able to increase the air density this whole time. So why doesn't she do that here? Also, her constructs were at the very least stunning Conquest, but I heard him groaning in pain when they smacked him, so they had to have been hurting him or doing damage, so they would probably f up these variants. So why does she not use any of her constructs? She's fought before, many times. It's not her first rodeo, so I don't know why she doesn't use them. After sending both variants through a building, Omnimark comes back, catches Eve, and throws her to the ground. She, again, could have pulled the air trick to freeze him in his place, and she had plenty of time to throw her armor on before they were fighting, the same armor that later on is able to protect her from strikes from Conquest. She could have honestly won this fight and never gotten f***ed up if she used her head, or the writers remembered her powers. Alright, last up here is the Conquest fight. She again is somehow able to put up a glass shield before Conquest can get to her, and Conquest was speed blitzing like crazy just a minute ago. She then armors up and does the air density trick. She then starts pulling out a bunch of different constructs and smacking him, which like I said earlier, he groans in pain when they hit him, so they're probably doing damage or at least stunning him. Where the f was this in like every other fight that I've shown? Honestly, I'm more mad at the fact that these slow ass constructs are somehow hitting him. She then makes a big construct and Conquest catches it, and when he speaks he sounds like it's actually heavy. Like he actually has to try to hold it up, which is crazy considering how strong he is. So why were these never brought out against anyone else if they're that powerful? If these are stunning Conquest, which they are, and he actually has to try to hold this thing up, then these constructs should be f***ing smoking everybody else. She then puts a bubble around his head which stops him in place. Could have used that against the variants that she just fought. And then her little pink blast things are actually stunning or hurting him. Those things suck. They never do anything to anybody. But all of a sudden now they're actually able to stun Conquest. Mind you, Invincible was throwing full-on juicers that did 0 damage, and these things are stunning Conquest. When the f*** have her blasts been able to do that much damage? She also hits him with a ball and it turns to water when he hits it. Yeah, I bet you didn't think about how she could have been trapping enemies in cells filled with water or sand. She could be blasting water at people like Aquarius did to Omni-Man in Season 1. And that shit was actually working Omni-Man too. She does eventually get packed up though, and then she breaks through her mental block to heal herself, which was pretty cool. But Adam Eve's powers are ridiculous, and she should be stomping almost everyone out with ease if written consistently. And the way people justify this is by saying, well, if she stomped everyone out with ease, then we wouldn't have much of a show. Guess what? That's still called poor writing. Either don't make the character that powerful in the first place, or add more limits. Like, instead of just having a mental block, maybe she should only be able to do a few constructs at a time before needing a cooldown. Also want to mention, this doesn't mean I don't like the show or Adam Eve. This doesn't ruin the show at all. I just notice these things and like to talk about it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this and what I should cover next. But that's all I've got for you guys today, so I'll see you in the next one.